Welcome to another episode of Healthtech with Purpose. Today we have Suvikas Bhandari joining us on our show. Suvikas is currently serving as the VP of Strategy and GTM at Pazcare. Suvikas is a wealth of experience in driving revenue growth and establishing strategic partnerships in the B2B sector. In this episode, Suvikas will share insights about his understanding of the sales landscape and ability to translate complex concepts into actionable strategies. Stay tuned till the end of the episode and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
So, Vikas, you mentioned, about the importance of research, and I believe, uh, you know, I think like many salespeople would agree with it, but why not we go deeper into the how of it?
How of it?
Because I'll tell you, like even my sales team does that surface level research, but I think they hit a wall when they say that they've done the research, which is just probably like, okay, what is the current news of the company, or let's say what the company is about, are they funded or not, or so some of the common hooks they're able to find.
Mm.
What are the other things that you came across, or that you saw that you used and were very effective?
Yeah, I'll give you three different examples. Uh, One where the personal research works,
Hmm.
one where personal plus business works,
Hmm.
and one where pure business also works.
Okay.
Right.
Sure.
So the first one is getting leads in,
Hmm.
getting people to talk to you.
Right. Right.
Right. And so in that way, subject line of an email is the most important aspect of the email.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a bullet.
Right.
If an email doesn't get opened, it's like a bullet that didn't fire.
Right.
It's a dud bullet.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the most important aspect.
Right.
How do you make people to open your mail?
Right.
And these are not junior people. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I would actually not use the word junior. People are people.
Right. Yeah.
Right. People have personal lives. People have professional lives.
Right.
So our research,
Hmm.
it took us a month to figure out when we didn't get responses.
Hmm.
It took a month to figure out.
Hmm.
And for example, one of the email lines, subject line was, remember I told you sales enablement was the persona.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the email subject lines was, why is a Manchester United fan best fit for sales enablement? It's a nonsensical statement.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
At that time, we were just hacking it.
Right.
But what we did in the hack was beautiful, which is attached a personal and a professional things of that person together.
Manchester United sales enablement. Mm-hmm.
And the response was very funny. Said, you should be glad Manchester United won yesterday. Otherwise, I would not be in a good mood. I'll give you 30 minutes. We got 8 demos out of 65 emails.
Okay.
Unheard of number.
Right. Right.
Yeah. All we did was we made sure that not just the subject line, but also the next 2-3 lines were tying the personal to the business of business part of what we were doing. So, for example, one of the things we were doing was coaching. Right. Yeah. So, why a cycling fan is best fit for sales enablement? Right. Each pedal is an effort, just like salespeople need to do and practice. So we completely tied the personal with something where we provided value.
Right. So it connects with kind of giving analogy to help them understand or connect with
in their life, in their life, an analogy, whereby we could put our value forward. Right. So this was about lead generation. Let's come down to a slightly next step, which is the first call or a demo call. Right. There's a company called Qualtrics, I think acquired by SAP for $3 billion or something. They were on the verge of, we came to know later, were on the verge of signing an agreement with some other sales enablement platform.
Your competition.
Some competitor, right? And the most satisfying thing a salesperson can do is literally change the game at the last day of the game, right? And this is all things we came to know later.
Right.
So during the research, we realized that the person who was responsible for the buying, the decision maker, and the EB as well, and who had a good sway with the founder of Qualtrics, happened to be a ex-entrepreneur.
Okay.
Right. Good. Ex-entrepreneurs are always good. They are open. Right. As I said, right, it's a lot about psychographic profiling. And you have to understand some human psychology. And he had spent 2 years in running a company in gamification.
Oh, okay.
The research is all about finding connections. We were a gamified platform. His was a guy who had tried gamification and probably did not succeed over there. So our research, I mean, I'll just focus on this part. Our research and our mandate or our feedback to Mohit was every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you have to talk about the gamification, how gamification has a value. The gentleman, there were two people, we had researched both of them. The gentleman, it seems, arrived 10 minutes late. And the other person, a lady, she started the demo call. Again, mind you, Ayush, we are sitting in India, we are not on the call. Only Mohit used to be on the call. Our single guy. Right. And later on, we came to hear from Mohit that he came in, and as soon as he came in and I dropped the word gamification, he almost fell out of his chair. Had we not done the research, had we not thought through as to what would be a value point. So in his about on LinkedIn and in his current profile and all that, we could read and see all this. Right. So here's where we took something personal and business together, actually. And needless to say, we actually won Qualtrics right from the last day of going with somebody else. A third example I would provide is a company called Lidl, Lidl. It's one of the Walmarts of Europe. They were expanding into the US, right? So they just started building up the sales. They started building up the sales team, and I don't recall who we were talking to at that time. One of the areas of research, in a way, it's easier to crack the US market. There's a lot of information available, legally mandated. So, for example, Lidl had its 10K and 10Q filings already in the US. They had to file it. In the 10K, 10Qs, which is the SEC filing, right? So, as a salesperson, you must read balance sheets and profit and loss account. If you don't know how to read it, that's okay. Just look at revenue year over year and loss or profit year over year. Those two things. And definitely look at what the leaders are saying about the business. There's a section in every quarterly and every annual.
But this would be for public listed companies.
Even other companies can also provide a lot of information. Right? Lidl happened to be a public company. And we quoted the CEO with something that completely impacted sales training. And we put it as the first slide in the document. And she was completely surprised with it. Where did you get that? He said, we got it from the 10K. It may not have been information for her, but she was pleasantly surprised at the efforts we had put in to understand them and their business.
Yeah, that's how it is. It may be right or wrong. Like there's no right or wrong, but it's all about showing the effort and showing that you care, basically.
Yeah, and once again, if in your mind you are trying to sell, you will fail. If in your mind you're trying to help somebody be better at what they are doing because you know something that they may not, that's a different. Then now we are talking. Right. And it's never about features. It's about the challenges you are facing. It's where you want to go. we'll help you go there.
Right.
So all these three examples are different areas of Kundali.
Right. Fairly put. So just thinking on the the sequence of sales events. So once the demo is done, are there any other hacks that you did around follow-ups or waking people from, let's say there's a time, that anxious time between whether they're signing or not signing, or whether they're interested or not interested. So anything else, before we move to other orbits, like any other sales hacks that
Yeah. So I completely go with the
why I
concept.
ask this, I'll just give a context that for again, sitting in India, working on a USGTM, one of the problems is that your relationship is very much limited, because you are not meeting in person. So it's like, okay, it's just a call or it's just an email. So anything else that from your journey you saw that that really worked in building the relationship further?
Uh, to some extent, I wouldn't be too bothered about that if you are selling bigger ticket items, slightly bigger. If you're not selling very high, if you're selling very big ticket items, that could be a challenge. When I say very big ticket, means $500,000, $1 million per year and more. That could be a challenge. But then most startups in India start with 5,000, 10,000 per customer, right? That's perfect, right? Even I think from a US point of view, even they don't want to be bothered with a face-to-face meeting.
Right. Especially post-COVID, I think.
Post-COVID, so things have changed completely drastically.
Right.
So it doesn't matter where you are. You could be in Jhumri Talaiya, Timbuktu, or anywhere in the world, and you would still have the same access.
Right.
It's about always, continuously. It's about what value are you providing to the other. Right. Having said that, the more larger the ticket, the larger the chance that there will not be one person, there will be multiple people. That is one part. Right. Now, the best of salespeople also are doing empathetic selling, but they might lose out on what I call the political map. One is the political map. Two, the fact is that sales is now a science. Selling to enterprises is now a science where it's about continuous qualification, I would say. When somebody says, oh, I lost this sale at the last day, no, you lost it way earlier, you just didn't know about it. Because you did not ask the right questions during your process. One of our, I hated MedPick and then I loved MedPick. MedPick, if you go into the details of MedPick, one of the sales frameworks, it has a set of questions for each of these M, E, D, D, P, I, C, C, right? Okay. Absolutely valid. It should almost be a mandatory for a salesperson. It's like a 20-25 question cheat sheet that every salesperson should have and keep checking it at every stage of the journey. No, you can't do, I've checked it once, you don't verify it again. Right. You have to do the due diligence. Right. Sales is building trust through a series of conversations, but also on your side, constantly qualifying, continuous qualification. Right. So things like a legal person suddenly stepping in. Look, your buyer most likely may not know how to buy. Right.
So how you can create that frictionless engagement?
So
removing
you are a full-fledged consultant to these people. Right. It's not about what you value you add. It's also about how he needs probably to look inside his own company and work with some people. I'll give you a very big example. I mean, the first time it happened, it was like a shocker. In India, from one of the top 10 pharma companies in the world, in India. So, by the way, we cracked the pharma industry in India big time at Mantical. I'll not name the company. We received signed agreement for a buy.
Okay.
Right?
From
our champion.
Okay.
Supposedly the decision maker.
Right.
Mind you, top 10 largest pharma company in the world, in India. 1 hour later, I get an email saying, oh, sorry, I am not the authorized signatory. I won't put the blame on him.
Right.
Partially, the blame is on me.
Right. Right.
Did I do a proper guidance to him as to who all needed to be in the buying process? Potentially,
Right.
Because I had experienced other pharma companies.
Right.
Right?
Right.
In my hurry, in my greed or hope as a salesperson,
Right.
I see a signed document and I was happy, but I hadn't done my due diligence on how a buyer is supposed to buy, especially when you have decision making unit, not a single decision maker. It took them 1.5 months to resolve that issue after that. So the sale that I closed moved into the next quarter actually. It's a very important aspect that I think a lot of salespeople miss, is guiding people not just on what value you add, but also how they should be looking at buying internally. The legal team, the tech team, the user team, they'll all be stakeholders. And as you're buying, as your deal moves along, at sooner or later, even if you don't want it, but they will come in. And once somebody comes in whom you were not expecting, well, your deal has a problem. So the deals that go loss late in the stage actually are lost much earlier. It's just that the salesperson doesn't know because they're not done the proper qualification constantly.
Well said. And that reminds me one quote that I read from this book called Sale by Subrata Bakchi.
Okay.
So he talks that sales is like a dance, like a ballet between two people. So it's like you and your customer or the prospect, dancing together. So, like bringing it into resonance, or at the right time the push, or the right time the pull.
Right.
How you can orchestrate it.
Orchestrated. Yeah.
Is the whole
I wrote a small funny blog post on LinkedIn. How sale is like a Bollywood movie. So if I'm the hero, I'm going after the girl. Initially, it's a song and dance around trees.
Right.
Things are good, and suddenly, things can progress. But then suddenly there's a villain.
Right.
The villain could be the decision maker's cousin because he's got a competing platform.
Right.
And if you didn't know about the villain, you didn't do your job, right? But then how do you tackle the villain now? Right? The hero tackles the villain, and then of course, then it's Band Baja Barat or something. But even at that time, maybe some uncle is not happy because usko shagan exactly pura nahi mila hai. You have to know all these things. Otherwise, this marriage is not happening.
So there are many characters. Basically.
There are characters in the play.
Yeah.
There are characters in the play.
Right.
Yeah. You have to deal with each of them individually because each of them will have a professional and a personal, right? The financial guy will have their own professional and personal thing. The legal person may have their own personal and financial thing. Invariably, whichever company you go to, there will be some technology. Never, it's the worst thing to assume you will be a standalone.
Right.
Knowing the tech, knowing the ecosystem, if you've not done the due diligence, at worst, the sale will not happen. At best, it will be delayed by 1 or 2 quarters. That's a best case. Right. So, and from a book's perspective, I think so. To me, one of the best sales book is not a sales book. It's a book called Never Split the Difference.
Yeah.
Right. It's been written by an FBI lead negotiator who for 20 years negotiated release of hostages over 20 years from terrorists and kidnappers. And in 20 years, he lost 2 people. There has to be something over there in that book where he was able to get the terrorists and the kidnappers to agree to all of his terms over a 20-year time period. That's a salesperson's ideal scenario where the other person agrees to all of the terms.
Right.
Yeah.
No, this episode of Health Tech with Purpose podcast is brought to you by MindBowser, a product engineering and digital transformation company focused on health. At MindBowser, we enable health companies to build the future of health where accessible, equitable, and patient care.
We strongly believe that technology can empower a healthier world, and that's why we are partnering with healthcare experts like yours to make it happen.
Hi guys, thanks for listening to Healthtech with Purpose. Make sure to subscribe us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube for more expert insights on industry innovation and transformation. And remember, share the knowledge.
I have read it in the past, but it's time to maybe revise it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, a fantastic book. I remember. So, because you also mentioned about building business in South Asia as well as part of your journey. So, any lessons from the South Asian market? Like, so when you say South Asian market, that is it Singapore, Thailand, like Malaysia?
Yeah. So one is the South Asian market becomes very small for two reasons. One, the countries are small, and that's a big challenge. But also, only a few countries are English speaking, where you can decently enter into English speaking, right? Because we are only running on English,
Right.
so that makes it like Singapore and Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, some part of Philippines, right? Somehow Hong Kong maybe, but that's it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So was there any difference in strategy entering these markets? Was it more channel partner kind of driven, or was it pretty much similar to the way you would approach a US market?
We tried to do it the same way, right? Matter of fact, so let me step back. We had started tracking pharma in India, but then we were asked by our investors that we're not yet cracked pharma. We just started with pharma, and in a way, it was a weird thing, right? We were cracking US tech, fast-growing tech, and suddenly we have this big name like GSK or something over here in India, and the VCs were like, "Oh, what are you guys doing? Right? Make up your mind," and something like that. And show us you can repeat this what you just did in India with GSK, right? So what we did was we ran ads on LinkedIn, and that's how we got leads in Indian pharma. The Asian pharma market.
Okay.
So from that perspective, we got leads in India as well and leads in Southeast Asia also, the Asian markets, right? From that perspective, the same initial conversations were the same. The challenge comes one. It's the same buying cycle. We were with big brand pharma, and you had in India you had 400 licenses, and over there they had barely 20 licenses per country. Our challenge was we had to sell to each country separately, right? Partnership would have been a fantastic way to go. I tried partnership. I completely failed at that. So I would love to see and hear stories of where category creators are able to use partnerships to move into Asia. It's a great market.
So you mean partnerships failing in only South Asia specifically you're mentioning, or partnership failing like in US also?
US also, I think we had some partners, but over in Asia we were never able to get traction on partners. It's a good market to be in because there's not a whole lot of negotiation. Right. In India, the biggest thing is price negotiation. Right. They're not. They're also. I'm not saying they have a lot of money like the US, but it's decent, and they genuinely have. They need help. So our services and support was a huge value, right?
Right.
One of the things we had all our customers badly needed was creating content, because it's a learning and coaching platform. But the content is expensive to create.
Right.
Not in India. Not as expensive.
Right.
So that way it was a good one. So as any company has to realize what is the value they can provide, and the Asian market will give you the value, right? Not as much as the US, but definitely way better than India. But then it's a fragmented market. It's not a very English speaking market. So partnership should be the ideal way to go, I would say. Yes.
And what about Europe? What were your experiences in Europe?
So frankly, I did not look at Europe a lot.
Okay.
I mean, once we had some traction in the US, I had focused myself onto the Indian market. Okay. But we did crack Europe, because again, even though Europe is fragmented, I think the normal way would be you start with UK and maybe France, right? Yeah. Or Germany. That's where you go.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not. We were able. Then you have to have a presence over there. You have to have somebody over there.
Right.
In that
just
way,
like you had Mohit in the US.
So
market.
in the US we had Mohit, and then we had to have somebody in the US, European market. Now, another thing, if you're cracking the US market, then most likely you're cracking Europe as well, because a lot of brands in the US are also in Europe, right? So that also helps. That can help a lot.
So in this whole journey of 10 years with MindTickle that you had, can you think of like few major milestones in your learnings, or any experiments that gave you those 100x results or 10x results at least, that okay, we started doing this and that just catapulted us to unlock the next level of growth, and then we did this and that was the next level growth. Any such experiments or any such aspects that you?
I would say the fact that I was talking about, right? To be able to crack large ticket, which is enterprise. If you are a relatively newer 2-year, 3-year-old SaaS startup in India, you don't need a lot of customers. You maybe need one logo a month, maybe maximum, right? So if you to close a logo max once a month, one logo a month, or 1 in 2 months even, at a 20K,
right,
20,000 maybe 15,000, right? Which is at some point in the journey, that is great.
Right.
Work backwards. Say 10 detailed conversations will get you one logo. So you need 10 detailed conversations. 1 in 10. Right. Bad case 1 in 10. So let's go with 1 in 10.
Right.
Now to get 10 conversations, how many leads do you need?
Leads. Yeah.
Again, let's do another 1 in 10.
Right.
That's 100. So to close 1 or 2 deals, all you need is 100 conversations.
Right.
Which means you should be literally personalizing every single content piece.
Right.
At that point, never ever think scale. I would say at that point, think unscale. Manual efforts. Because the objective, I've seen even in Pune, companies saying, oh, I'm trying to send 2,000 emails a day. You want to close 1 enterprise client in a month. Why do you need 2,000 emails?
Right.
You need only 20 emails a day.
Right.
Literally, I would put a handwritten note to every single one of them and just mail it if it were up to me, right?
Right.
You don't need that.
Right. So basically, you have to stand out.
You have to stand out. You have to stand out by providing value.
Yeah.
Right? And when you think scale, you are never providing value. You are thinking of selling, and that's what will not happen.
Right.
So the part that worked very well was, look at, you can see our, not just our InMail, but our LinkedIn ads. Our LinkedIn ads were absolutely on the mark of a key problem of somebody who was dealing with the sales, pharma sales people.
Right.
Right?
So tell me quickly one thing, that what happens as a, it could be a good problem, but sometimes a bad problem as well. That I think if you're doing good as a SaaS company, you start getting a lot of inbound, which means
Right.
that you could be sitting on an inbox where there's 100 demo requests. So did you like see that problem? And then if yes, then how do you qualify or prioritize, or again, especially talking about personalization? So
Yeah.
do you send any feelers to just get the seriousness? Yeah.
I'm laughing. I started laughing when you said 100 leads in your inbox, because I've yet to come across. Again, I've not worked in large SaaS startups. Mindical was the biggest one, uh, but to me, that never happens. Right?
Okay.
That never happens. You never have sufficient leads. Sales team never has sufficient leads, especially when the medium or enterprise space.
Okay.
Right? So there's something is wrong somewhere.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Now, being good at what you do versus getting leads are two different things.
What I mean to say, just to give a context, would be that let's say you just got published in, say, Economic Times, for
Yeah.
example, you got some good press,
Yeah.
or let's say you just got funded, so a good PR came out.
Yeah.
Which means that suddenly
There'll be a
a
spike.
lot of companies, got to know about you, and then each of those companies happen to sign up on your platform and say,
Yeah.
yes, request a demo,
Fair
especially
enough.
if your product is, say, $100 a license, for example, or something like that.
Yeah.
So how would you solve that, just to make sure that you are at your best with each of them, or justify yourself for the best ones, or that way I was thinking.
Yeah. Again, look, I would consider that as a blip. It's always a spike, and that will die away. Right? Now that I'm looking at marketing, I have a perspective on what could have been done better, where that's something we can fix. Right? It again boils down to your customers have problems.
Right.
As you grow
Right.
as a company, you have a better perspective on the problems.
Right.
Right? To get leads in, those people should be, one, aware of their problems, be able to look at what can solve them, and then you should be able to answer why you. Right? A common number is 95% of people are not in market. You could be in a business where people don't even know they have a problem. Right? Now, from a spike perspective, there's no other way except that you have to make sure that your turnaround times are fast. Right? But those spikes are rare. Right? A funding or something like a spike like that is a rare thing to happen. Right? It will be some major event happening. The rest of the 364 days of the year, you have to ensure that the leads keep coming in.
Right.
If we can address that, that will be a bigger point. Now, that is where now I am realizing there's a huge advantage India has that your US competitors do not have, which is, I don't like the word very much, but let's go with SEO, search engine optimization. Right? My take on that is, all the SEO content that is being created to optimize for search is 50% okay, 50% not okay. I'm not saying the 50% okay part is, okay, create content optimized for search. The part I'm not okay is that you're just, when you create content just for the SEO part, then
It
you
is
will
not
fail at it.
giving answers to
Not
the
giving
intent.
No, you could be giving answers,
Right.
but once again, you're trying to sell, and that's where you are failing.
Right.
In India, having a good content writer is hugely advantageous. And there are very good content writers. What is this whole story about selling? The whole story about selling is, somebody has a problem, right? And
he goes on Google.
Right? Now, I would point everybody to something called a challenger sales thing.
Yeah.
But then, along with the Harvard Business Review, Challenger has what is called the drowning cycle. My mother-in-law says that जब तक बच्चा नहीं रोता तब तक माँ दूध नहीं देती है. It's a closest relationship. Yet, there's a pain involved, and only then there's a benefit. Right? So the idea is you have to talk about the pain first. Whether you're talking it in person or you're talking it in a digital mechanism.
Right.
I still don't understand how sales and marketing is different. Marketing is all about saying the same things in a sales, just in a digital format. Right. So from that perspective, you have to talk about the pain. You cannot let it go there. That's a drowning part. So first is identify pain. But I think Challenger or whatever sales is, they call it the rational drowning. But even the best of salespersons stop there. No, there's one more step, which is what is the impact of the pain on their life?
So it's like vitamin or antibiotic. What do you need? Really?
Yes, because with a vitamin, you can't go to the second step.
Right.
You have to point out not just the pain, but also the personal or professional impact due to the pain. Right. So, for example, with Pazcare, right, we are basically helping employees with both personal and financial health. And one of the areas of personal and financial comes together is health insurance from companies. Now, one of the nightmares of HR is at 12 o'clock on a Sunday raat ko, they get a call saying, I am at a hospital, I don't know, I have an emergency, I don't know which hospital to go to. Right.
What is covered, what is not
covered, or what is not covered, right? And Pazcare platform has a one-click ways all this is available. Your hospitals around you, what's your coverage, so which one is the ideal one to go to. What is the outcome? For the HR whom you are selling to, the persona you're selling to, the pain is that the employee doesn't know the information. But what is the personal impact? The HR's personal life gets decimated now. With so many calls happening. So if we do the first thing, but not the second thing, we still leave things out. You identify the pain, identify the impact, and then present the solution. That's what content should do. That is exactly how content should be structured.
In fact, they say, and I believe in that even the language has to be something that can be understood by a fifth grader rather than overcomplicating it with jargons or large words or long sentences.
Yeah, I've learned very recently from my new manager that there's actually a scale that identifies, you can just paste the content and it identifies whether it's a fifth grader content or a third grader content or even difficult for a college. Unfortunately, with our British English in India, we mostly end up with a 12th grader plus content or rather collegiate content. It's complicated. अंग्रेजी हमारी मातृभाषा नहीं है और उस चक्कर में we overcomplicate things. Totally with you. Simple to the point. It's not about how many words it is. It's about are you addressing the person's challenges, right? Totally with you. I can't recall what that scale is called. K something. It starts with a K, but I'll let you know. But it's interesting that I didn't even know. It just scores your. So my mandate to my team now is every piece of content has to go through that scale, and it cannot be over anything over a fifth grader.
No, true that, as they say, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Secondly, I'm hoping everybody watches Bollywood movies, but I don't think you realize that 90% of the movies are the same. It's the same cycle. There's a hero, heroine, good life,
or even a superhero Marvel movie.
Right? Something happens, they fight it out, and they emerge victorious. Your content should work in the same way.
Well, thank you, Suvikas. This has been great. I think a masterclass on sales and
I don't know.
really some great points that you've touched upon, which sometimes I think could go in as common sense, but as you say, common sense is not so common.
Unfortunately, that is why it's called common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you for joining us on the Health Tech with Purpose podcast. Before you leave, make sure to like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And if you would like to see someone on this podcast, do refer to us. My contact details are in the description. Before I leave, I wish you stay healthy, stay curious, and keep building.